Apana ne flashlight ngwero di bare. O weekend akuna. A very good afternoon, members of the press. On my left is Honorable Agent Gumbo, the head of the Legal and Parliamentary Liaison Bureau. His task is to liaise or to be the liaison between our parliamentary deployees and the party. On my right is Honorable Senator Mafume. She's the head of the Welfare Bureau. And I promise Mkwananzi, the head of communications and spokesperson of the CCC. We have called the present press conference to update the citizens of Zimbabwe, the international community and all stakeholders of the change project on several key developments within the party and in our spaces within governance structure of the country. As you may be aware, the party's founder and leader, President Advocate Nelson Chamisa, resigned as leader and head of the Citizens Coalition for Change, a history which we shall not regurgitate at this presser. It is on this background, at the backdrop of the said resignation, that the party's Citizen National Assembly, which is the highest decision-making body of the party, convened and resolved the question of the leadership vacuum occasioned by President Chamisa's resignation from the party. The undoubted consensus within the party's membership and progressive leadership is that the president had become a target of a deliberate project sponsored by the parallel state and implemented by a fatigued and position-hungry lot seeking to sustain a ZANU-PF rule in Zimbabwe. It is important that we clarify that the resignation of President Chamisa was by no means intended to bend the party and its assets to the ground. The resignation has in fact breathed life to and sustained the fight for democratic transition in our country. The struggle for democratic transition in Zimbabwe is undergoing a transition. That transition entails the falling away of an old culture, old tendencies, and old politics, and to some extent, old personalities and characters. There is an unstoppable and refreshing breath of the new, characterized by a new culture of politics that is people-centered as opposed to being position-centered. The sacrifice by President Chamisa to abandon an institution which he founded must be understood in the context of this painful but real transition. We have to assert at this juncture that the CNA has resolved that the CCC and its deployees, namely members of parliament and councillors, remain committed to the transitional process which will deliver a new great Zimbabwe led by Advocate Nelson Chamisa. Let there be no doubt, the party and its membership, represented by the resolutions of the CNA, has given the task of managing internal transitional processes of the party to Senator Jameson Timber, who leads the administration bureau of the party with representation from all 10 provinces in Zimbabwe. Senator Timber, a senior political leader within the democratic movement in Zimbabwe, carries a collective and technical mandate of running the affairs of the party ahead of President Chamisa's treaties on the next step. In conformity with this mandate, Senator Timber announced a series of key appointments in the party's parliamentary leadership structure, which has been confirmed by the Parliament of Zimbabwe. You can make reference to a statement that announced Clifford Tlachwayo as the leader of the House and other chairs of various committees that were appointed. All party deployees in Parliament are called upon to cooperate and work with the stated leadership in executing the party's legislative agenda and in advancing the interests of the citizens. Any acts of insubordination, sabotage, and rebellion shall be considered an affront to the country's democratic agenda and shall be meted with the relevant legal and political processes to ensure struggle discipline. The party has taken note of the growing concerns around numerous evictions which have been carried out by the ZANU-PF government in various parts of the country. We are concerned with the obvious affront to human rights and livelihood of many Zimbabwean citizens affected by what appears to be consequences of an undisclosed chapter of a fractured land reform program. The party has thus appointed its legal and parliamentary affairs bureau head, Honorable Agents Gumbo, to lead a commission constituted by members of parliament and councillors to embark on a national fact-finding mission which will inform the party's response to the growing national concern. We further wish to communicate unequivocally to the public that there is a team which is presently moving around provinces carrying a special mandate of informing our base on the state of affairs in the democratic alternative. We dispel any notion or innuendos thereof by our detractors who seek to suggest a rift and a lack of consensus on the strategic steps which are a parcel of the party's internal transitional process. Without saying much, we advise the citizens of Zimbabwe to remain vigilant and understand that there is cohesion in the processes currently underway. We have also taken note of some of the rotten apples seeking to further the contamination within the party and its deployees. We have heard timid whispers emanating from Holiday Inn in Bulawayo, wherein one Ncube and Mafume mischievously makes pronouncements about the leadership of the CCC. We state categorically that the said pronouncements are null and void and are not a representation of the collective wisdom and resolution of the Citizens' National Assembly. We wish to state that Mr. Mafume is not authorized to speak for and on behalf of the party. His obvious link with Sengezo Chabang and the unlawful recalls has now been confirmed. His reference to a supposed link between the CCC and the leadership of the MDC alliance is not only mischievous, but a confirmation that he has ceased to be a member of the Citizens' Coalition for Change. Accordingly, any deployee or leader of the Citizens' Coalition for Change who associates themselves with this mischief will automatically cease to be a member of the party, and the relevant political and legal consequences shall ensue. I thank you. We now invite any questions from the members of the media. Chandingada kutaura nekutsinzira ndechekuti vaClifford Hlachwayo nema-committee members akaappointwa navatimba ndo vakutungamirira kudare guru reparamende yemuZimbabwe. Chechipiri ndechekuti CCC kune 1 yakanga ichitungamirirwa naadvocate Nelson Chamisa vanova vakamboti zororei. CNA ikazogara ikashara vatimba kunge vange vachitungamirira pari zvino. Saka vatimba ndo vari panyanga vachitungamirira CCC imwe chete. Zvekuti vana Biti nana Maikore vari mu-CCC kandi havasi, ivo ndo vangazvipindurira. And havai right yavo of association and disassociation. Isusu tinotaurira musangano kwete ma-individuals. Yes. Ndafunga mazvipotsa tazviverenga mu-official statement kuti parliament yakatambira vatungamiriri vakasarudzwa ava vari mushishi kutoita basa kubuda nehwaro hwe-legislative agenda wemusangano we-CCC kwatinenge tichilaedza navo through Honorable Gumbo vanovavo vasarudzwa kuti vange vari ivo vanofamba pakati peparliament neparty because tanga taona kuti ndo pamwe panga pachiita ka discohesion, saka taisa link tichange tichilaeza zvinhu zvichafamba zvakanaka. Sorry? We are the legitimate CCC. The real CCC. The only CCC.
I understand that by those titles, when are reaching supposed stakeholders and supporters, are they doing it on behalf of CCC or Nelson Chamisa?
They are doing it on behalf of the democratic alternative in Zimbabwe. And we have said in the statement that there is no discohesion in the transition. You have to refer to our statement. You have to refer to the statement that I read, that there is no discohesion between the two. Following the resignation of our leader, there was a need for leaders to go and interface with the base, in which there will be an exchange of views and ideas to understand the problem at hand and to chart the way forward, obviously in the context of what has happened, as well as the direction that will be given at the appropriate time.
What resolution have you given to your constituents with regards to resignations from their representatives?
Come again?
What resolution have you given to your constituents regarding the resignation of their legislative representatives?
Which legislative?
So the representatives that have left Parliament. So what resolution have you given to the constituents who, on behalf of those parliamentarians?
Well, what is important is to note that the members of Parliament resigned at their own volition. We respect their decision and we honor their decision. Obviously, when there is a resignation, a vacuum emerges, and a by-election will need to be conducted. And we are in the process of consulting and coming up with a resolution on these matters. I would like to thank you very much.
And if you may want the statements,
Oh, yes.
we can share that.
Yeah. You can circulate the statement.
Because if I share to you, you can share with them.
Yeah. If you can share with one,